Well, I think almost everybody would probably say I-69, you know, uh, drawing a spur of I-69 to Owensboro, excuse me. But to be honest with you, I do, I've learned this is a real learning process, this interview, because I really think that's something like I've already mentioned, that the city commissioners really are elected officials and they should be advocates for Owensboro, total advocates, okay? But I really had trouble answering what the agenda was, and I do read the MI very, very, very much so anymore, almost front to back, since I've run for political office. But you know, I read other national magazines, USA Today quite a bit. Lately, I've been reading the Wall Street Journal. I'd advocate people read the Wall Street Journal with a little bit of New York Times mixed in it. You'd have a good idea of what's going on in the world, really, if you would do that consistently. But I had a real problem, you know, kind of answering what our legislative agenda is in Kentucky. And then so I started going back through the agenda notes for each meeting and thought, well, maybe if I read those closely, I'll see what our city government's advocating in Frankfort. And really, to be honest with you, after attending the meetings, after rereading most of this year's agenda, I didn't see where we are really addressing Frankfort in a great way. I know the EDC does. I read an editorial not long ago about 3G in this community that Nick Brake was very much involved in, you know. So, you know, and I think that's important, but that's another issue. I might get a little off track with this, but I think we should be advocates as city commissioners. We're the first line of government, for elected government, for most people in this community. I guess all people that in the city limits of Owensboro. And we should be out there advocating. But what I would say, as much as, you know, Nick Brake, you know, going to Frankfort and advocating for 3G is a great thing, we should really be talking about loss of manufacturing in this community. Like the Han situation really bothers me. That some of these people, some of these guys working at Han were Vietnam veterans, and predominantly most of that production went to Vietnam, a communist country that they spent their early adulthood and risked their lives, and a lot of their friends probably died, you know, trying to stop the spread of communism, and now we're losing industrial manufacturing to them. And I think those are things that really, as a city commissioner, I want to talk about, and I think we should be you know, forcing Frankfort into this discussion nationally. We should be talking about this, and I don't hear a lot about, you know, I hear some mention of free trade, you know, but it is a matter of fair trade to me. So I think it is very important, but I'm just saying I'm not sure what it really is, and I do try to read, and I do try to watch a city commission meeting. So that's something I'd like to bring to it, that really start talking about what I'm advocating, you know, in Frankfort, what we're going to try to do to improve employment and make this an environment where people can afford to manufacture something. You know, that's one of my first agendas. I have an industrial background, and it really bothers me to see the American industry moved offshore, and because I think that's predominantly one of the things that's going to affect us the most. I mean, it is affecting us the most. You know, this convention center is going to be nice and draw people, additional people, but it's not a long-term real solution, I don't see, for the employment problem we have here in Owensboro, and Kentucky's in the nation even larger. So that would kind of be my answer. You know, I don't really think 3G is stopped. If we'd had 3G or Han, I really don't believe Han would have still left, GE would have still left. So, you know, I'm sure that there are people argue that that's about innovation and things like that, and that would spur it, and I'd agree with that. But